The first thing the cowboy heard wasn't the wind or the river far below. It was a steady, defiant whisper rising from the shadowed crack in the canyon. "Make it quick, cowboy. I won't scream." He froze at the edge, boots grinding against loose stone, heart slamming harder than it ever had in a gunfight. Below him, wedged between broken rock and the cold canyon wall, lay a girl no older than 17, her dark hair tangled with dust and blood, her leg pinned at an impossible angle. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She was staring up at him with eyes that had already decided pain was better than fear. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The canyon had a way of swallowing sound, making even breathing feel dangerous. The cowboy, Ethan Cole, slowly knelt, raising his hands where she could see them, as if she were the one holding the gun. He'd ridden these lands for years, hunted lost cattle, crossed paths with outlaws and soldiers alike, but nothing had prepared him for the calm bravery in that girl's voice. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly. "And I'm sure as hell not here to finish you off." She studied him the way wounded animals do, measuring, remembering, deciding whether hope was worth the risk. "That's what they all say," she replied. Her voice trembled just enough to betray the pain she was holding back. "If you're going to do it, don't drag it out." Ethan swallowed. She was Apache, he could tell by the beadwork still clinging to her torn dress, by the pride in her posture even while broken. He also knew what that meant in these lands. Too many men saw enemies instead of people. Too many graves had been dug because of that. He shifted closer, careful not to send rocks tumbling down. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then answered, "Ayanna." "It means, eternal blossom, doesn't it?" he asked softly. Her eyes flickered with surprise. "You know our words." "I know a few," he said. "Enough to know that you don't belong dying alone in a canyon." Ayanna clenched her jaw as a wave of pain passed through her leg. The blood had dried dark against her skin, and the swelling was bad, real bad. Ethan had seen injuries like this before. Leave her another day, maybe less, and the canyon would claim her. "How long have you been here?" he asked. "Since the sun stood there," she said, nodding weakly toward the sky's memory. "Yesterday." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Then we're running out of time." She laughed once, short and bitter. "That's why I said make it quick." "No," he said firmly. "That's why I'm getting you out." The canyon didn't make it easy. The rock trapping her leg was heavier than it looked, and every time Ethan tried to shift it, Ayanna's breath hitched. She never screamed. Not once. Instead, she stared at the sky and whispered words in her language, prayers, maybe, or memories she wasn't ready to let go of. Ethan tore strips from his shirt to bind her leg as best he could. His hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility settling in his chest. He talked as he worked, about the river, about the weather, about nothing important, anything to keep her anchored. "Why did you come this way?" he asked. "My brother," she replied. "He went missing after the soldiers came. I followed the tracks. I was careful, until I wasn't." Ethan didn't ask what happened next. He could guess. Horses spooked. Rocks shifted. Fate turned cruel. When the stone finally rolled free, Ayanna bit down on her sleeve to smother the sound that tried to escape her. Ethan caught her before she slipped, holding her weight despite the protest of his own muscles. "I've got you," he said, more to himself than to her. The climb out was slow and punishing. Ethan used rope, roots, anything he could anchor to. More than once, he nearly lost his footing. More than once, Ayanna faded, her head lolling against his shoulder. Each time, he whispered her name, refusing to let her drift away. By the time they reached the canyon rim, the sun was sinking low, painting the land golden red. Ethan laid her gently on the grass, chest heaving, sweat streaking his face. "You still think I should make it quick?" he asked softly. She looked at him, really looked at him now. "No," she admitted. "I think I was wrong." Ethan smiled faintly, though worry still weighed heavy. "Good. Because the hard part starts now." His ranch was a day's ride away, but he didn't waste time. He fashioned a stretcher, lifted her carefully, and moved as fast as he dared. The night grew cold. Wolves howled in the distance. Ayanna shivered, and Ethan wrapped his coat around her without hesitation. "Why are you doing this?" she asked at last. He paused. "Because someone once did it for me." She waited, and after a moment, he continued. "I was left bleeding after a border skirmish years ago. Apache woman found me. She could have walked away. Instead, she saved my life. Ayanna's eyes softened. Then you carry a debt. I carry a promise, he corrected. At the ranch, Ethan worked through the night. He cleaned the wound, set the leg as best he could, brewed herbs he'd learned about from neighbors who respected the land more than the flags flying over it. Ayanna drifted in and out of consciousness, her dreams tangled with pain and memory. Days passed. The fever came, then slowly broke. Each morning, Ayanna woke to the sound of chickens and wind in the trees instead of gunfire and screams. Ethan spoke little, letting his actions do the talking. He brought water, food, clean bandages. He never looked at her like she was a problem to be solved. One afternoon, as she watched dust dance in the sunlight, she said, "You could have turned me in. Claimed a reward." Ethan leaned against the doorframe. Some things aren't worth money. Silence stretched between them, but it was no longer heavy. It was healing. When Ayanna could finally stand, leaning on a crutch Ethan had carved himself, she stepped outside and breathed deeply. The land stretched wide and open, full of pain and possibility. "My people will come for me," she said. "I know," Ethan replied. "And when they do, I'll tell them the truth." She met his gaze. That a cowboy chose compassion. He nodded. That a girl refused to give up. When her people arrived days later, there was tension, bows half raised, hands hovering near rifles, but Ayanna stepped forward, steady despite her injury. "He saved my life," she said clearly. No more was needed. As she rode away, Ayanna looked back once. Ethan stood by the fence, hat in hand, watching her go, not as someone losing something, but as someone who had found what truly mattered. The canyon would remember her fall. The land would remember his choice. And somewhere between pain and mercy, two lives had crossed and proven that even in the harshest places, humanity could still take root and bloom.